everybody and welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Shaki and today I'm going to be listing 21 books I would like to read in 2021.
Hey, listen!
So if you missed it a few days ago, last week, I actually don't know when this video is going up. I'm just filming it in hopes of publishing it before the new year. I filmed a video called Books I Want to Reread, which will be linked down below and in the iBar. So if you'd like to go and watch that, and if rereading is your thing, then you can go ahead and watch that. But this video will be exclusively 21 new books that I have never read before, both backlisted books and new releases books. So the first one is one that has been hyped so much here on BookTube, and it is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm pretty sure this was a new release of 2020, but I just didn't really feel in the mood to read. My reading slump, again, I've mentioned the 2020 reading slump about 50 million times in my videos so far. My 2020 reading slump just made me really unaware of like new bookish news, and I wasn't keeping up with BookTube that much. I wasn't really on book Twitter that much, not Bookstagram, nothing. So I wasn't like aware of the big new releases, and Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson has been one of those releases this year. Just briefly, this book, Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, follows Enchanted, who really would like to make it as a famous singer. Then she meets Corey Fields, who I believe promises to like help her make it in the industry and help her dreams come true, essentially. I also think there's like a murder mystery element to this because Corey Fields ends up dead somehow or some way, and I think there's a little bit of a murder mystery as well there. So I'm really excited to pick this up because of that. I'm really interested in like stories that surround like the media or music industry, and I think I will like this because of that, and I don't think this book is going to be any different. I'm going to be really enthralled and interested. Next, we do have a graphic novel series. I think this is the only graphic novel series I have on here, just because most of my graphic novels I have already read before and they do count as rereads. I did mention some of them in the reread video, which again I will link above and down below. But me and my boyfriend are long distance, which is really unfortunate because of coronavirus, and we tend to spend most of our time on Discord to each other, and we have found that Amazon Prime, like Netflix, also have like an Amazon Prime watch party, a bit like Netflix party. We love to watch The Walking Dead on Amazon Prime on watch party, and he's been talking to me a lot about how the comics and the graphic novels are a lot different to the show, and how I might enjoy them as well. So I thought I would get my The Walking Dead fix and also read the graphic novel series, the comics, and just see how the story is different. I'm not sure if I will read these like towards the beginning of the year, but once we have finished The Walking Dead and I start to like miss it, I think I will go back to these and read them. I'm just not sure if I would like to go back in the timeline, like where Rick is like wandering around looking for Laurie, because Laurie fucking pisses me off. If you don't know what this is about, it's basically like a zombie apocalypse, post-apocalyptic series that is very popular, and it's basically just about this group of people mostly following Rick Grimes, Carl Grimes, his son, and a bunch of other diverse cast of characters which come and go out the series, which, you know, is natural and it happens, but it doesn't make it any less upsetting. If you think Grey's Anatomy is bad for deaths, then welcome to The Walking Dead, because oh my god, I was fucking distraught at some of these deaths that happened a few episodes ago. Season 5, my friends, season fucking 5. But yeah, so we follow Rick and mostly Carl and their like, you know, group, and how they are the leaders of each group that they get into, and like the different situations that they find themselves in. They need to find food, water and shelter, and it's just like basic human survival but made so like action packed, and there's so much drama sometimes that you forget that the zombies exist because there's so much human drama. It is just great, and if you haven't experienced this before and you like zombie apocalypse things, well, you probably have if you like that, then you should definitely go ahead and watch or read The Walking Dead. And since I've been watching it, I really would like to read some of the graphic novels, which is why it's on this list. Okay, so the next one is one that I actually own because my sister kindly bought it for me for my birthday, as well as another one on this list. There's loads of things on this list that are on my Christmas list, so hold fire, I might own them before the end of the year. The first birthday present that has been featured on this list is Heroin or Heroin by Mindy McGuinness. When I was talking about this in my birthday vlog, I will leave that also down below if you want to go and view that. I said heroin and it's actually spelled heroine. I don't know if it's supposed to be heroin or heroine. I think it's supposed to be heroin because of the nature of the book. This basically follows our main protagonist, Mickey, who is in an unfortunate car accident, and after this car accident they are starting to become reliant on pain medication to take the pain away, and I think it's about their journey with substance abuse, and it kind of like wants to represent and illustrate the amount of substance abuse in young adults. And I really wanted to read this just because I would like to be more helpful and educated when it comes to substance abuse, because there are people in my life, in my like immediate life, who have suffered with drug abuse, both past and present, and I would like to just be a little bit more aware of the things that, you know, they go through, be a little bit more helpful. And the first step in being more helpful is to be educated. So I know this isn't a non-fiction book, and trust me, I am doing the work with non-fiction as well. I think this is a step in the right direction because it depicts a proper like life of someone who has a drug addiction, and I've heard that Mindy McGuinness does an amazing job at representing this, and I'm just hoping to be a little bit more educated and kind of just be helpful towards people who are suffering with drug addiction or substance abuse or anything like that. A bit of a dark book to ask for your birthday, I know, but alas, my family don't care. The next book I don't own, and it is a little bit more fluffy than Heroin, and that is Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. I believe this is a little short story, maybe collection, maybe it's just one story, or I don't actually know what to expect, but for me, Alice Oseman is one of my auto-buy authors. Not necessarily to do with her like her main series of like Radio Silence and Solitaire and stuff like that. Her graphic novels and the Heartstopper series in specifics are auto buys for me. And this book, when I saw it, was centering around the characters of Heartstopper, Nick and Charlie, the main characters. I thought I have to have that. Heartstopper is basically about two boys, Nick and Charlie, who are both queer in their own right. I think that Charlie is gay and I think that Nick is bisexual, but I can't remember. I always get them mixed up. I might be wrong. I might be getting them mixed up, but they are both queer. They're in a male-male romance, and it just kind of depicts the trials and tribulations that happen when you're coming out, when you're dealing with mental health, and the complexities of teenage relationships and how complicated they can actually be. I love the way that Alice Oseman illustrates these books. I did actually meet the woman herself, which was very fun. I really can't wait for also volume 4 to come out, as well as Nick and Charlie, which I really want. Next we have one of my most anticipated releases of 2021, and that is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. Oh boy, I am so excited for this one. So if you didn't know, Chain of Iron is the second book in the, I cannot remember what series it is. Editing Shaki here. It's called The Last Hours. You're welcome. But it's the sequel to Chain of Gold, which came out in 2020. I love this book. One of the only books that I read in a year, pretty much. I am really anxiously waiting for the sequel because there were some events in the first book, Chain of Gold, that I'm sure Chain of Iron will touch upon, that I'm really excited to like carry on the story with. If you're unaware, the Shadowhunters are angelical beings who help protect mundane people from supernatural beings, so that's demons, vampires, all that sort of stuff, but mostly demons. And Chain of Gold basically follows our founding characters as children. So the Infernal Devices is here, and then we go to Chain of Gold, which is kind of like the following on from their children, and I'm really enjoying the characters. I think Cassandra Clare writes so beautifully, and I think that her writing has really aged well, like fine wine, my friends, fine wine. Really excited for the release of Chain of Iron. I think it's around March/April, which is when Chain of Gold was also released. But yeah, Chain of Iron, one of my most anticipated reads of the year next year, and that's why it's on this list ultimately. Next we also have another anticipated release of 2021. This is Across the Grass Fields by Shona Maguire. This is the 6th, I think, the 6th book in the Wayward Children series, which I have binged this year, which you can see here. So the Wayward Children series is essentially about these magical doors which transport children to fantastical worlds. So they're worlds that don't really make sense to the normal person, but because the child is like looking for an escape, or because they have been in the world for so long, they think that the normal world doesn't make sense anymore. Because they're children, they can't make up their minds whether they want to live in the real world or the fantasy world. They get spat back out of the door and they are suddenly lost in the real world and they want to go home. This is where Eleanor and her Wayward Children's School come in, as she is taking care of them and possibly helping them get back home to where they belong, like through their doors and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting book series because of the magic system, because of the types of characters and the types of magic that they have. It's really good. I think that the series does go downhill, but it has been brought back up again by the 5th book that I just read, which was really good. And I have heard some really bad reviews about Across the Grass Fields, but I'm still anticipating it anyway, and I still would like to read it, which is why it's on this list. Okay, next is another book that I actually own, so that's exciting. Said book is Pretending by Holly Bourne. I think I got this a while ago when it initially first came out, and I still haven't read it, so I promised myself that I would read it in 2021. So this is Holly Bourne's second adult novel. I have read How to Like Me Now, which is her first adult novel. She is a predominantly YA author, but she decided to have a go with adult, and to be honest, I enjoyed these more because I love Holly Bourne. As you can see, I have a whole shelf dedicated to her books, but I do prefer her adult work. I just think it's more sophisticated and more my style, because I am growing up, I'm growing out of her other works, and I do just really like her adult work and how she writes them. So Pretending is all about April, our main protagonist, and although that she has every single quality that anyone could want in a partner, she can't seem to want to date anyone or get past the first date. So she makes up a fake dating profile called Gretel, who she aspires to be like, and essentially lies about who she is. She then meets a mysterious guy called Joshua, who is extremely attracted to the types of girls that Gretel is, but I'm guessing that she mixes up in a lot of lies and a lot of stuff that she shouldn't really be in because she's lied about who she is. Next we have a book that I probably shouldn't have on this list because I do not like mysteries, but I'm going to put it on here anyway. And that is You by Caroline Kepnes. I originally bought this in my first year of uni because the piece of course that we were doing currently at that time was called I Am a Camera, and we heavily inspired our piece on You and other material that is to do with stalking. And I'd never watched it, never seen it at the time, but we still used it because some people in our group had seen it. So I really would like to watch it because the way they described it was really good. The reason why I kind of would like to give this a try is because I think it is written in second person, which I've never ever read before, and it might just add a different element to mysteries and thrillers that I haven't ever read before, and I might end up liking it. If you don't know what You is about, then you're living under a rock, honestly, because it has been everywhere. It's about Joe, who's a stalker and a serial killer, I'm pretty sure. He meets a woman called Beck, and he is instantly obsessed and infatuated with her. And I'm pretty sure I've heard people describe this as really chilling and really gruesome as well, and I'm wondering if I could get that reaction from her, but I'm thinking so, and I'm really excited to get into it. Next on this list, another one that I own. I think I own pretty much the rest of these, maybe one or two that I don't own, and that is We Hunt the Flame. Hello, editing Shaki popping in again. I really just was ignorant and didn't Google how to pronounce the author's name of this before I started talking about it, and now I have in my editing process and thought I would just add it in here instead of just trying to butcher it. We Hunt the Flame is by Hafsa Faisal, and just thought I'd show that I didn't fuck it up. Basically, there you go. This is about our main character, Zafira, who is described as a hunter. She is forced to disguise herself as a man to make it in the hunting world, or to be a good hunter, to be respected kind of thing. We also follow Nasir, who is the famous Prince of Death, who has taken the role of his past father in assassinating people. Both are legends in their kingdom, but neither of them want to be, and both are embarking on a journey to return the magic to their kingdom. This has been described as a Mulan retelling because our main character is having to disguise herself as a woman to be a successful hunter, to be respected and stuff like that. But I'm kind of skeptical about that because a lot of people compare things to things and like say it's like a retelling or inspired by it, and it turns out that it's not. I don't actually enjoy retellings that much, which is probably why I'm like really toning it down, but I think I could like this, and it seems like there's going to be like an enemies to lovers kind of thing going on. I'm just really excited to read this, like all the other ones. That's why it's on this list. I know I just said that I own the rest of these books, but I just lied to you. I'm so sorry. The next book is Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline, which is the sequel to Ready Player 1. If I'm going to be completely candid with you, I had no idea that this was coming out this year. I didn't even know that Ernest Cline was doing a sequel. Did anyone know? I have no idea. So because I don't want to go into like spoilers or anything, I will just basically tell you like a rundown of the first book's plot, and I also will tell you a little bit of nugget information I know about the second book, which will be like carrying on the story. I'm not really happy about the thing that is carrying on the story. I don't think it's necessary, but cash grabs are cash grabs, and I'll still read it. There's also a lot of problematic elements in Ready Player 1, which I do identify, but I'm kind of curious about the sequel. So Ready Player 1 basically follows our main protagonist, who is on a mission, a journey, a virtual mission or journey in something called the Oasis. So the Oasis is basically the ever-growing technology space where most people will just live out their days. So they go to school on the Oasis, they gamble, they game, they do loads of stuff on the Oasis, and no one can really take their eyes off of it. The founder of the Oasis, James Halliday, has recently just died, and he has hidden loads of little Easter eggs in the Oasis for players to find, and whoever finds the Easter eggs wins a fuck ton amount of money, and also is now the new owner of the Oasis. So naturally, Wade, our main protagonist, being the gamer that he is, wants to go out and find all of the Easter eggs and prove himself to be a good gamer, because he's got nothing else to live for. He lives in a caravan with his aunt and his abusive step uncle. Like, he needs to get out and to find these Easter eggs and to potentially have hold of the Oasis and to be basically a millionaire. He meets loads of characters along the way, both good and evil, and it is a really good book, a really good concept, and a really strong story element. I actually prefer the film to the book, which is something I never ever say, but I just do feel like the first book had a lot of info dumping, which I'm expecting from the second book as well. Moving on to the second book, apparently it follows James Halliday again, but like there's another Easter egg that's been uncovered and found, and I just feel like that part of the story is now over, and there was such a big huge conclusion to the first book that I was very satisfied with. I'm not sure if there's anything else like they can do with the second book, but I have an open mind. I'd have preferred maybe like a prequel surrounding James Halliday, but we kind of got that in the first book, so I don't know, I'm just kind of excited to see what Ernest Cline has for us, and I'm really hoping that he doesn't info dump, even though he probably will. Next we have a book that I have been wanting to read for a very long time, and that is Unpregnant by Jenny Hendricks and Ted Kaplan. So this is, as you can probably tell, a book about pregnancy. Our story follows main protagonist Ronnie, who never thought that she'd ever be pregnant. She's at university, she's studying for her degree, and she just wants to be not a mum yet, I guess. So she thinks that abortion is in her best interest. The only person that she trusts to take her there and to help her get her abortion is her ex-best friend, which is where we find ourselves on our journey with Bailey, her ex-best friend, and our main protagonist, and Ronnie, as they embark on a journey to get Ronnie the abortion that she wants. I do really heavily relate to Ronnie as a character, and I think that if she's developed well, then I could really relate to her, and this could end up being a really good book. Anything with like best friend breakups is like a win for me. I really want to read it because I think that's talked about enough and it hurts like fuck. So like I really hope that more books, especially in fiction, talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, really excited for this. I feel like it's gonna be really feminist and really good, all about like your body, your choice kind of thing, and I'm really excited to read it. Next is a book that is kind of on the same lines as Unpregnant, and that is What Kind of Girl by Alicia Seinmel. So this is about a school called North Bay Academy, and we follow the student body at this school after one of the like really popular guys' girlfriend comes in with a bruise on her face, and there's a whole like argument and discussion about whether Mike, the guy, her boyfriend, actually hit her or not, or if she's lying or if she's making it up, and the whole like discourse on victimization of victimology and, you know, domestic violence. Is it like a personal problem, or is it something that we should all actively help to figure out? The girls in the cohort and the student body, they find themselves in a little bit of like a dilemma whether they want to rally for Mike's expulsion because he could have hit his girlfriend, but also the possibility of his girlfriend lying is at the back of their minds and they don't really know what to do. I feel like this kind of subject is prominent right now because of the whole Johnny Depp situation that happened. This is so prominent right now and so relevant that I really wanted to read it. I think it's going to strike so many chords, make me think, which is what I want books to do essentially. This is why I read, is for books like this to educate me and to make me question my opinion. Next we have a book that I actually started this year and never finished, which is Fan the Flame by Anna Primaza. This does say that it is an ARC copy, but I did buy this from Amazon or someplace secondhand, and someone sold me the ARC, and I felt so guilty that someone had sold me the ARC, because buying and selling ARCs damages the publishing industry and also authors' profits and like their ability to publish more books. I did not go out and seek an ARC of this. I just bought it from Amazon because it was already out and someone sent me an ARC. But yeah, as I said, I did start reading this, and from what I remember, it's all about fan culture and streamers and convention. We follow three main protagonists and their points of views. The first one we have is Lanely, who is a YouTube sensation. His real name is Cody, and he turned out to be a real sexist jerk, but no one knows that because he's kept it under wraps. We also follow Sam the Brave, who is very anxious to meet Cody, who turns out to be sexist, I'm guessing. And we also follow Shadow Willow as our last protagonist, our last point of view, who is a really famous female streamer who keeps being shipped with Cody, who is sexist. So like we all kind of follow the same entanglement, and I'm really excited to see how that all pans out. Again, I did start reading this, but I had to put it down because I just was feeling other things. I think I got busy, and I actually really would like to revisit this because it's only short, it's very floppy, it feels like it's really easy to read, and I can't wait to be basking in the nerd culture. Really exciting. This is a graphic novel, so I completely lied to you again. There is a graphic novel series on this, and that is The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask and Link to the Past. This is like kind of manga. It's not a graphic novel, I don't think, because it opens this way. This is the way that you open it. But yeah, this is a manga based on the Legend of Zelda games, A Link to the Past, and also Majora's Mask. So I'm really, really happy about having this. I saw this in Waterstones, had an urge to play the games, thought this would like kind of like cure my fix of wanting to play them, and that's why it's on this list. Nothing really else to say about that. It's just really exciting. I've never actually read a manga before, so really excited. Next book we have on this list is a book from a author that is again an auto buy for me, and that is In the Time We Lost by Carrie Hope Fletcher. Carrie Hope Fletcher is predominantly a musical theatre actress, YouTuber and writer, and again I do kind of auto buy her books. So this follows Luna, who is absolutely desperate for a new start. So she goes to a remote location in Scotland just to be with herself and be with her own thoughts. It feels like it's starting to become her home until a freak like electric cutout storm happens in July. People start to become extremely curious about Luna, her being a newcomer in the town, especially a cute little coffee shop owner. Carrie's books sometimes do have like magical realism, supernatural elements to them. I feel like her books are really easy to get through, really easy to read, and I'm excited for this one to be no different, to be honest. The next book I thought I would pop on here that I want to read is actually a poetry collection. I would like to read a lot of poetry, but this one I've had for a while, and that is Poems That Make Grown Women Cry, edited by Anthony and Ben Holden. Now the fact that this is like poems to make grown women cry and it's edited by two men is really makes me not feel great. It makes me feel kind of uneasy, if I'm going to be honest, but I still want to read this because I've had this for a long time. Apparently on the little like information slip in here, the summary, it says, representing 23 nations and ranging in age from their 20s to their 90s, this diverse group of public figures admits to breaking down when ambushed by great art, explaining why in words often as powerful as the poems themselves. I do own this next book, but it's right under the like a pile of books at the bottom, and I really can't bother to get it out underneath them. But the next book on this list is Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. I actually can't remember off the top of my head the synopsis of this book. I normally just read the back of the book when I'm filming and stuff like that, but what I do know about Shay Earnshaw in the past, because I've read The Wicked Deep and I really enjoyed The Wicked Deep, is she writes really witchy, fantastical, supernatural, really creepy books that I really would like to read throughout next year, not just in like October. I actually find the month of January quite like spooky, and I want to be really cozy, and I like spooky books and that kind of time, so I really want to read this because I like Shay Earnshaw's other work and I'm excited about it. The next book is the first installment of a very hyped series that a lot of people have read and are surprised that I haven't read, and that is Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan. This is the first book, aka Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. And a lot of people have been saying if you kind of feel like rejected by J.K. Rowling and her values, to go ahead and read other authors, and one of those other authors was Rick Riordan, because apparently he's really unproblematic, which I don't see how that's possible because everyone is a little bit problematic, but I don't know, I just thought I'd take the advice. I was really itching for a new fantasy series to get into, and I feel like this is one that people expect me to have read and I haven't, and it is so hyped that I kind of want to experience it anyway. I believe this is about Percy Jackson, who is a demigod, and he is the descendant of Poseidon, and we run into fellow demigods who are teaching Percy Jackson about the world, and that's pretty much all I know about this. I really am blind going into it, even though it is hyped. We've kind of stayed away from the hype, but I am still really excited to get to this because I think I'm going to really enjoy it. Next, we do have a book that was briefly mentioned in my rereads video, because it is the sequel, one of my most anticipated releases of whenever it came out. It could be this year, it could have been last year, I'm not entirely sure. But that is Deck of Omens by Christine Lynn Herman. I have already spoke about this series in that video, so go ahead and check that out. So I won't be talking about this in detail, but I do really want to get to The Devouring Grey, which is the first book in the series, so I can go on to read Deck of Omens, because I am so anticipating it. It's gonna be so good. Coming to the end of the list now, this next book is one of the books I mentioned in my previous video. It is one of the like non-fiction self-help books I want to read so I can kind of be in more of a sustainable recovery state with my eating disorder. This one is The Fuckit Diet. I actually do follow The Fuckit Diet on Instagram, and just following them has made me view my body and view food so much differently, and I think actually reading the book that they published will definitely change it even more. So this is from Caroline Duna, who wrote this book, and it's basically just describing the diet industry and how dieting sometimes doesn't work, and the bad sides of dieting, and how you can get out of feeling like you need to diet and feeling like you need to be skinnier to have value. And the 21st book on this list, the last book on this list, is one that I do own, so you'll be happy to know. Again, my wonderful sister kindly got this for me for my birthday because I put it on my list, another morbid read to put on a birthday list, and that is The Five, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. I just really want to be educated by this, because obviously we learn about Jack the Ripper in school, in history, but we don't learn about the women that he killed, and I think there are a lot of misconceptions around the women that he killed, the things that they used to do, and how heinous the crimes were. So I would like to just read a little bit more about that and become educated on the topic. Anyway, there are the 21 books that I want to read in 2021. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Share with me maybe a couple books in the comment section below. You can name 21 if you really want, but a couple will do in the comment section down below that you want to read in 2021. Give this video a like and my channel a subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I think I might talk a little bit more about my reading plans in a separate video, but these are some of the books that if I feel like I want to read something, I'm going to go back to and make sure that I'm ticking off these books during the year. Anyway, that is it from me today. I hope that you enjoy anything that you read and you're productive in anything that you choose to do, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!